Good morning. Today's a special day. Today is the 131st anniversary of the beginning of St. Luke's United Methodist Church. It was on April the 28th, 1889, the first Sunday after the land run, that a group of people met in downtown Oklahoma City, what was then downtown, and they raised a white flag to tell people where to come. They blew a bugle saying, "We're getting ready to meet." And people came and gathered, and they sang, "What a friend we have in Jesus." There were only two groups of people who met on that very first Sunday after the land run, and that was a group of Presbyterians who met at Main and Broadway, and St. Luke's kind of went to the edge of town. We went out to 3rd and Broadway. There we held that very first worship service. But on that very first Sunday, we had the St. Luke's, we had the Methodist Episcopal Church South and the Methodist Church North that were all meeting together, because there were some who were worshiping in all those different churches who had come to Oklahoma for the land run. But after that very first week, we decided that, well, some of those people from the north, they talk with a funny accent, and they sometimes kind of think a little different too. And so after 1 week, the church split into two, and we had the Methodist Church North and the Methodist Church Episcopal South. And that's what would become First Methodist Church and St. Luke's. And so that's the way it went. Now for the next 40 to 50 years, each church was growing and carrying on meaningful and effective ministry. But it was in 1939 that the Methodist Church merged to come back into one. The Methodist Church North and the Methodist Church Episcopal Church South, they had split over slavery back in the 1860s. And so in 1939, we merged back together to be one. And so now the big question was, would First Methodist and would St. Luke's merge back to be one? You see, we had built a building, we'd grown so much out at 8th and Robinson, and we were facing the need. Do we move and build a new building, or do we merge with First Methodist Church? First Methodist Church had already taken a vote and said, we're not going to merge with St. Luke's, so it really was up to St. Luke's now to make the decision, should we merge with First Methodist? Or should we go build a building further out into the suburbs? It was a critical moment in the life of the church. Judge Vaught was the one who led the meeting. Judge Vaught was a significant person in the life of our church. He had joined back in 1904, and he was such a charismatic, dynamic person. On the very first Sunday he joined, they made him superintendent of the Sunday schools. That was an important job. And it was good news. On that very first Sunday, he and his wife joined, even though his wife was still in Tennessee, and she was a very active Presbyterian. But he just knew she would love the Methodist Church, and so he went and joined her too. And thank goodness when she moved to Oklahoma, she decided she liked the Methodist. But no, Judge Vaught was a very strong personality. We have Vaught Chapel in our building right now in the downtown campus. The fountain was named after Judge Vaught. No, he was such a significant personality. Well, he held this meeting there in the early 1940s, and people came together trying to decide what to do. And I want to read you what Judge Vaught had to say. He stood up at the beginning of the meeting and he said, "I've been thinking and I've been praying, and it seems clear to me there's only one decision to make, and that is we need to go merge with First Methodist Church." There was a silence that fell over all the discussion. Nobody said anything. The judge had spoken. There was silence for a good while, and then finally, it was Willa Harrison who raised her hand to speak. Her husband, Clyde Harrison, was, again, a very significant leader in the church. Willa was a wonderful lady, a little quieter, but she raised her hand, and she is the one who wanted to say something. She would say, "I'd like to say something. There's no one who loves and respects Judge Vaught more than me. But Judge Vaught, I believe on this one, you are wrong. I don't think we ought to merge. We ought to stay at our own church. And we need to go build our own building. And we need to do it ourselves. And we need to do it now." And she sat down. Well, it kind of broke the ice. When she said that and then she sat down, suddenly everybody felt free to express their opinions. And people began to share their thoughts and their feelings. And suddenly it was a meeting to where everybody was wanting to talk and share. And then they took a vote, and it was overwhelming to stay St. Luke's and to go find new property and to go build a building and not to merge. By June of 1950, we were opening our new building at 15th and Robinson, where we are today. And the church continued to go and be in an amazing place. All because one woman, who in the 1940s would certainly be against cultural norms, one woman who expressed her opinion with grace, with being polite and respectful, but with clarity. She said, "This is what I think we ought to do." And it freed other people to say what they felt they wanted to do. And be it ever up to Judge Vaught to be a man who could hear someone think differently and be respectful of them. It's amazing what civil discussion can do when we can have differences of opinions and yet come together and make a decision. I think today, 131 years later, what this church has meant to literally more than 1 million people through our ministries and our worship services and our reaching out to bless life, what St. Luke's has done is truly incredible. And it's important to remember that on this 131st anniversary. But what I hope we all take away from it is we all have an opinion that can be expressed with respect and kindness, and we can have civil discussion. We can do it the way that it's supposed to be done. So don't be afraid today to have your opinion at your job, at your church, wherever it is that you go, at your school. You can express it with respect and with clarity. And who knows, God may use you to change that future. Here's to St. Luke's. Have a great day.